The message came on a cold morning in December. It traveled across the stars for 3 days before it reached Earth. When the leaders of humanity read it, they did not know if they should celebrate or prepare for war. For 300 years, humanity had lived at the edge of known space. They were not welcome in the wider galaxy. The Galactic Council, a group of 12 powerful alien species, had decided long ago that humans were too dangerous, too wild, too unpredictable. They called humanity a young species and treated them like children who could not be trusted with sharp objects. Earth and her colonies had grown strong during those 300 years. They had built cities on distant moons. They had learned to travel faster than light. They had created machines that could think and weapons that could crack planets. But none of it mattered to the Council. To them, humans would always be the newcomers, the outsiders, the ones who did not belong. Now, after 3 centuries of silence, the Council had sent a summons. Ambassador Elena Vasquez read the message 100 times. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen too many broken promises. She had spent her whole life preparing for this moment. Her father had been a diplomat. His mother before him had been the same. For 3 generations, her family had worked toward one goal, bringing humanity into the galactic community. They want to talk, she said to the gathered leaders of Earth. After all this time, they want to talk. President Chen leaned forward in his chair. He was a careful man who never made quick decisions. What do they really want, Elena? The Council does not do anything without a reason. Elena shook her head slowly. I do not know. But this is our chance. Perhaps our only chance. 2 weeks later, Elena stood on the deck of a human starship as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Before her, floating in the darkness of space, was Nexus Prime. It was the capital of the Galactic Council, a massive station built from crystal and metal that shined like a diamond against the stars. Ships from 100 different species moved around it, like fish swimming around a reef. Elena had never seen anything so beautiful, or so terrifying. Her shuttle carried her down to the station. She walked through corridors that stretched higher than any building on Earth. Aliens of every shape and size moved past her. Some walked on 2 legs. Some walked on 6. Some did not walk at all but floated through the air like living clouds. None of them looked at her. It was as if she did not exist. The council chamber was the largest room Elena had ever entered. It was round and tall, with 12 massive thrones arranged in a circle high above the floor. Each throne held a member of the council. Each member represented a species that had ruled the stars for thousands of years before humans had learned to make fire. Elena stood in the center of the chamber. She felt very small, human. A voice boomed from above. It came from a creature made of living light. This was the speaker of the council. You have been summoned to hear our terms. Listen carefully. You will not be given a second chance. Elena kept her face calm. She had practiced this moment her entire life. I am honored to represent humanity before this council. We come seeking peace and partnership. A sound came from one of the thrones. It might have been laughter. Elena looked up and saw the Archon of the Velkari Dominion. He was a nightmare, given form. His body was covered in black armor that seemed to be part of his flesh. His eyes glowed red in the darkness. His species had conquered 1,000 worlds. They were known across the galaxy as destroyers. Peace, the Archon said. His voice was like metal scraping against stone. The humans speak of peace. How amusing. The speaker raised a limb made of pure energy. Silence, Archon. Let the human hear our terms. The terms were simple. They were also impossible. Humanity would surrender 90% of its military fleet. Human ships would not be allowed to carry weapons larger than defensive systems. All human colonies would accept advisors from the Velkari Dominion. These advisors would guide humanity toward proper behavior. Human scientists would share all their research with the council. Human leaders would submit to genetic monitoring to ensure they did not become too aggressive. In exchange, humanity would receive limited access to galactic trade routes. They would be protected from outside threats. They would be allowed to exist. Elena listened to every word. Her heart grew heavier with each sentence. This was not an offer of partnership. This was a demand for surrender. The council did not want humanity to join them. They wanted humanity to kneel. These terms, Elena said slowly, are not terms of equality. You are asking us to give up everything that makes us strong. You are asking us to trust species that have ignored us for 300 years. You are asking us to place our survival in the hands of the Velkari. She looked up at the Archon. Everyone in the galaxy knows what happens to species under Velkari protection. They disappear. The Archon leaned forward. His red eyes burned brighter. Careful, human. You are in no position to make accusations. I am in a position to speak the truth, Elena replied. My people have waited 3 centuries for this moment. We have dreamed of joining the galactic community. We have hoped that one day we would be seen as equals. She paused and looked at each member of the council. But I see now that you never intended to treat us as equals. You see us as a threat to be contained, a problem to be controlled. The speaker's light flickered with what might have been annoyance. You do not understand, human. These terms are for your own good. Your species is young and dangerous. You need guidance. Elena wanted to scream. She wanted to tell them that humanity had built wonders, that they had cured diseases and created art and explored the depths of space, that they deserved respect, but she said none of this. Instead, she simply nodded. I will bring these terms to my government, she said quietly. We will give you our answer. As she walked out of the chamber, she felt the eyes of 12 alien rulers on her back. She heard the Archon's low laugh echoing behind her. Elena did not look back. She kept walking until she reached her shuttle. Only when the doors closed behind her did she allow herself to feel the anger that burned inside her chest. She had come seeking partnership. She had found only chains. Elena opened a secure channel to Earth. President Chen's face appeared on the screen. He took one look at her expression and his face grew pale. That bad? He asked. Worse, Elena replied. They do not want allies. They want slaves. And the Velkari. She paused, searching for the right words. The Velkari are hungry. They look at our colonies the way a wolf looks at sheep. Chen was silent for a long moment. What do you recommend? Elena stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of humans lived and worked and dreamed of a better future. They trusted their leaders to protect them. They believed that humanity would find its place among the stars. We keep talking, she said finally. We buy time, and we pray that I am wrong about what is coming. She was not wrong, but she did not know yet just how right she was. The storm was coming, and when it arrived, it would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The negotiations lasted 40 days. Each day was worse than the one before. Elena returned to the council chamber again and again. She offered compromises. She suggested middle grounds. She proposed treaties that would allow humanity to keep some dignity while still meeting the council's demands. Every single offer was rejected. The council did not want compromise. They wanted complete submission. On the 15th day, Elena offered to reduce humanity's military by 50% instead of 90%. The Velkari Archon laughed and demanded they also hand over their shipyard locations. On the 23rd day, she proposed that human colonies accept observers instead of Velkari advisors. The council responded by adding new demands for human genetic samples. On the 31st day, Elena suggested a 10-year trial period where humanity would prove their peaceful intentions. The speaker of the council called it an insult. Each night, Elena returned to her quarters on the station and sent reports to Earth. Each night, President Chen grew more worried. Each night, the human military commanders ran new simulations and prepared for the worst. They are not negotiating in good faith, Admiral James Okonkwo said during one late-night call. He was the commander of Earth's defense forces, a calm man with a deep voice and eyes that had seen too many battles. They are stalling. The question is why. Elena had her own theory, but she did not want to say it out loud. To say it would make it real. On the 41st day, she found out she was right. The council chamber was fuller than usual when Elena arrived. Representatives from dozens of species filled the viewing galleries above. They had come to watch something. Elena felt ice form in her stomach. The Archon rose from his throne. His red eyes blazed with triumph. "Human ambassador," he said, and his voice echoed through the chamber like a death sentence. "The council grows tired of your delays. We have offered you fair terms, and you have refused them again and again. We begin to wonder if humanity truly wants peace at all." Elena stood tall. "Humanity wants peace. But we will not accept terms that turn us into slaves." "Slaves?" The Archon tilted his head. "Such strong words. Perhaps your people need motivation to see reason." He waved one clawed hand. and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed 3 planets. Elena recognized them immediately. They were human colonies. New Helsinki, Prosperity, Dawn's Light. 40 million people lived on those worlds. As of 6 hours ago, the Archon continued, these colonies are under the protection of the Velkari Dominion. Our fleet arrived this morning. The humans there are now safe from their own dangerous impulses. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Even some council members looked surprised. This had not been part of the plan they had agreed to. Elena could not breathe. 40 million people, families, children, taken without warning, without declaration of war, without any pretense of legality. You invaded our territory, she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. You took our people. We protected them. The Archon corrected. Just as we will protect all of humanity once you accept our guidance. You see, Ambassador, we are not your enemies. We are your saviors. You simply do not understand this yet. Elena's hands shook. She clenched them into fists to hide the trembling. Around her, the aliens in the gallery watched with curiosity. To them, this was entertainment, a powerful species putting a weak one in its place. The natural order of the galaxy. The Speaker of the Council rose. Its light form flickered with something that might have been discomfort. This action was not authorized by the full Council. However, what is done is done. Perhaps this will help the humans understand the importance of accepting our offer. Elena looked up at the 12 thrones. She searched for sympathy, for outrage, for any sign that these rulers saw what was happening as wrong. She found nothing. Some looked uncomfortable, yes, but none of them spoke against the Archon. None of them demanded he return the colonies. In their silence, they gave their approval. You expect us to continue negotiating, Elena said slowly. After you have taken our people hostage. The Archon spread his arms wide. We expect you to see reason. Accept our terms. Your colonies will be returned. Your people will be safe. All of this unpleasantness will be forgotten. The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned to Elena. They were waiting for her to break, to beg, to fall to her knees and accept whatever scraps they offered in exchange for her people's lives. Elena thought of her father. He had died still hoping for this moment. He had believed that if humanity just worked hard enough, just proved themselves worthy enough, the galaxy would accept them. He had been wrong. The galaxy would never accept humanity as equals. Not through negotiation, not through compromise, not through submission. The only thing the galaxy respected was power. Elena raised her head. She looked directly at the Archon. And then she did something that no species had ever done in the history of the Galactic Council. She smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was not a polite smile. It was the smile of someone who had finally stopped hoping for the best and started preparing for the worst. Then we have nothing more to discuss, she said. The Archon's eyes flickered with confusion. This was not the response he had expected. What did you say? Elena was already moving. She walked toward the chamber's exit. Her delegation fell in behind her. Ambassador, the speaker called out. These negotiations are not concluded. You cannot simply leave. I am not leaving, Elena said without turning around. I am ending the talks. Humanity will give its answer to the Council, but it will not be given here, and it will not be given with words. The Archon finally understood. His confusion turned to anger. You would doom your species for pride? We will crush you. The Velkari have conquered 1,000 worlds. Humanity will be dust beneath our feet. Elena stopped at the door. She turned and looked at the Archon one last time. You have taken 40 million of our people, she said quietly. You think this makes you strong. You think this proves your power. She shook her head slowly. You do not understand humanity at all. You have not shown us your strength. You have shown us that you cannot be trusted. You cannot be reasoned with. You can only be stopped. She walked out of the chamber. Behind her, chaos erupted. Council members shouted at each other. The Archon screamed orders to his military commanders. Species that had been allies for thousands of years suddenly looked at each other with suspicion. Elena did not care. She did not look back. On her shuttle, she opened a secure channel to Earth. This time, she did not call President Chen. She called Admiral Okonkwo. The Admiral's face appeared on the screen. He looked like a man who already knew what she was going to say. It's done, Elena said. They took New Helsinki, prosperity, and dawn's light. 40 million hostages. Okonkwo closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, they were hard as stone. Then we proceed with Operation Tempest. Yes, Elena replied. God help us all. But yes. She ended the call and sat in silence as her shuttle carried her away from Nexus Prime. Behind her, the Council celebrated their victory. They thought humanity had broken. They thought the young species had learned its place. They had no idea what was coming. 6 weeks passed. The galaxy waited for humanity to respond. Nothing happened. Human communication channels went dark. Their merchant ships vanished from the trade lanes. Their diplomats disappeared from every station and outpost. Even the human colonies that had not been captured went silent. At first, the Council thought it was a trick. They sent spy ships to scan human territory. They tried to intercept human messages. They even attempted to infiltrate human computer systems. They found nothing. Humanity had simply stopped. The Archon of the Velkari was pleased. He told the Council that humanity had accepted their defeat. The young species was probably hiding in their little corner of space, crying over their lost colonies. Soon they would come crawling back, ready to accept any terms the Council offered. Some Council members were not so sure. The representative of the Kethar Collective, an ancient species of crystal beings, spoke of concern. In my experience, the old alien said, silence before a storm is more dangerous than the storm itself. The Archon laughed. What storm could humanity bring? They are children playing with toys. They do not have the ships to challenge us. They do not have the weapons to hurt us. They are nothing. The other Council members nodded in agreement. They told themselves that everything was fine. They told themselves that humanity was broken. They were very, very wrong. Deep in human territory, in places the Council had never found, something was happening. For 300 years, humanity had been preparing for this moment. Not openly. Not where the galaxy could see, but in secret shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, in factories buried beneath frozen moons, in research stations floating in the clouds of gas giants. Humanity had never accepted their quarantine. They had never believed the Council would treat them fairly. So while their diplomats smiled and talked of peace, their engineers built weapons. Their scientists created new technologies. Their military trained for a war they hoped would never come. Now that hope was dead, and humanity was ready. Admiral James Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus. It was the largest warship ever built by human hands, 3 kilometers long, armed with weapons that the galaxy had never seen, crewed by men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Around the Prometheus, stretching out in every direction, was the fleet, 15,000 ships, battle cruisers and destroyers and carriers and support vessels. Some were small and fast, some were massive and powerful. All of them were built for one purpose, war. Captain Sarah Chen stood beside the admiral. She was young, but her eyes were old. Her parents had lived on New Helsinki. She did not know if they were still alive. All ships report ready, Admiral, she said. The fleet is at full strength. Okonkwo nodded slowly. He had spent 30 years building this force. He had recruited the best officers. He had overseen the construction of every ship. He had written the battle plans that would guide them through the coming storm. He had hoped he would never have to use any of it. Open a channel to all ships, he said quietly. Chen pressed a button. Across 15,000 bridges, crews stopped what they were doing and listened. This is Admiral Okonkwo, he began. You all know why we are here. 6 weeks ago, the Velkari Dominion took 3 of our colonies. 40 million of our brothers and sisters are now prisoners. The Galactic Council did nothing to stop this. They did nothing because they believe we are weak. They believe we will accept any insult. They believe humanity can be broken. He paused and looked out at the stars. They are wrong. Across the fleet, men and women straightened in their seats. Engineers checked their systems one last time. Gunners ran their hands over their weapons. Pilots whispered prayers to whatever gods they believed in. We did not want this war, Okonkwo continued. We wanted peace. We wanted partnership. We wanted to join the galactic community as equals. But the galaxy does not offer us equality. The galaxy offers us chains. And humanity does not wear chains. He turned to face his crew directly. Today, we begin Operation Tempest. Our mission is simple. We will rescue our people. We will destroy any force that tries to stop us. And we will show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity. Captain Chen handed him a datapad. It showed the position of every human ship. It showed the path they would take through enemy territory. It showed the locations of the captured colonies. Okonkwo studied it for a moment, then set it down. "There is something else you should know," he said. "I ordered our engineers to add a message to every ship in this fleet. It is written on our hulls in 100 alien languages. The message says this: we remember. We do not forgive." He let those words hang in the air. "Some of you will not survive this mission. I will not lie to you about that. But know this, your sacrifice will mean something. Your children and grandchildren will live in a galaxy where humanity is respected, where no alien power dares to touch what is ours, where the word human means something." Okonkwo straightened to his full height. "All ships, engage engines. Set course for the Velkari border. Operation Tempest begins now." The fleet moved. 15,000 ships activated their faster-than-light drives at the same moment. The energy release was so massive that it could be detected from thousands of light-years away. And it was detected. On Nexus Prime, alarms began to sound. Council members were pulled from their beds and dragged to emergency meetings. Military commanders stared at their screens in disbelief. The Speaker of the Council demanded to know what was happening. A Kethar scientist, its crystal body flickering with fear, delivered the news. "We are detecting gravitational anomalies at the edge of human space. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands." The scientist paused, checking its readings again. "Sir, the humans have a fleet. A very, very large fleet. And it is heading directly for Velkari territory." The Archon of the Velkari rose to his feet. His red eyes burned with a mixture of confusion and rage. "Impossible. Our spies reported no such fleet. Human shipyards do not have the capacity to build such a force." "Nevertheless," the scientist replied, "it is coming. At current speed, they will reach the border in less than 48 hours. Panic spread through the council. Species that had been enemies for centuries began arguing about how to respond. Some wanted to negotiate, some wanted to flee, some demanded immediate military action. Only the Kethar representative remained calm, the ancient crystal being turned to the Archon and spoke words that would echo through history. "I warned you," it said. Silence before a storm. The Archon snarled and stormed out of the chamber, already calling for his fleet to prepare for battle. He still believed he could win. He still believed the Velkari were the greatest military power in the galaxy. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Across the darkness of space, 15,000 human ships raced toward their destiny. And in the heart of each ship, men and women thought of their families, their homes, their future. They were afraid. But they did not turn back. The Tempest was coming. And nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The Velkari border fortress of Karshak had never been conquered. For 10,000 years, it had stood as a symbol of Velkari power. Hundreds of species had tried to destroy it. All of them had failed. The fortress was massive, larger than a moon, armed with weapons that could crack planets, protected by shields that could stop anything the galaxy had ever thrown at them. The Velkari commander who guarded Karshak was named Torvex. He had served in the military for 200 years. He had never lost a battle. When he received news that a human fleet was approaching, he laughed. "Humans," he said to his officers. "They send children to fight warriors. This will be a slaughter." He ordered his fleet into defensive formation around the fortress. 3,000 Velkari warships, each one built for destruction. It was the largest force ever assembled at Karshak. It should have been more than enough. The human fleet arrived at dawn. Torvex watched them appear on his screens. Ship after ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They kept coming, and coming, and coming. His laugh died in his throat. "How many?" he whispered. "Over 15,000, Commander," an officer replied. Her voice was shaking. "Still counting." Torvex stared at the screen. The human fleet stretched across the darkness like a wall of steel and fire. It was 4 times larger than his own force, and at its center was a ship unlike anything he had ever seen. Massive, powerful, built for war, the UES Prometheus. Admiral Okonkwo studied the Velkari formation from his bridge. He had expected this. The enemy had chosen to defend rather than attack. They believed their fortress would protect them. They were wrong. "All ships," he said calmly, Begin attack pattern Alpha 7. The human fleet moved as one. They split into dozens of smaller groups, each targeting a different section of the Valkyrie defense. They moved with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. The Valkyrie opened fire. Their weapons were powerful. They struck human ships and tore through armor. Explosions lit up the darkness, but the humans did not stop. They did not retreat. They kept coming, and then they fired back. Human weapons were different from anything the galaxy had seen before. Pulse cannons that shot beams of concentrated energy, antimatter torpedoes that exploded with the force of small suns, and something new, something terrible. The Valkyrie called it the Void Eater. It was a weapon that twisted space itself. When it hit a ship, the ship did not explode, it simply vanished, crushed into nothing by forces that defied understanding. The first time Torvek saw the Void Eater in action, he felt something he had never felt before in 200 years of war. Fear. All ships. Concentrate fire on the large human vessel, he screamed. Destroy it. His fleet tried. They threw everything they had at the Prometheus. Missiles and energy beams and plasma bombs. The human flagship's shields glowed under the assault. But they held, and then the Prometheus fired its main weapon. A beam of pure white light shot across the battlefield. It struck the fortress of Karshak directly. The ancient shields, which had protected the station for 10,000 years, flickered and failed. No, Torvex whispered. No, that's impossible. A second beam followed. Then a third. Each one tore deeper into the fortress. Systems failed. Weapons went offline. Entire sections of the station were torn apart. Karshak, the unconquerable fortress, was dying. The battle lasted 11 hours. By the end, 2/3 of the Valkyrie fleet had been destroyed. The rest fled into the darkness, carrying stories of the human weapons that could not be stopped. Admiral Okonkwo watched the fortress burn. He felt no joy, only tired determination. Send word to the fleet, he said. Phase 1 is complete. Begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was the liberation. The 3 captured human colonies were spread across Valkyrie space. Each one was guarded by enemy ships and ground forces. The Valkyrie had expected to use the human prisoners as shields. They had expected humanity to hesitate. They were wrong about that too. Human assault ships descended on New Helsinki first. The Marines who poured out of them were not gentle. They were not careful. They were furious. For 6 weeks, they had waited. For 6 weeks, they had imagined what was happening to their families, to their friends, to their children. Now they had come to bring them home. The fighting on the ground was brutal but short. The Valkyrie were strong. They were trained. They were experienced. But they had never faced an enemy like humanity. An enemy that fought not for glory or territory, but for something deeper. For family. Captain Sarah Chen led the assault on the capital city of New Helsinki. Her parents lived there, or at least, they had lived there before the invasion. She did not know if they were still alive. She found them in a detention center on the edge of the city. Her mother had been beaten. Her father could barely walk. But they were alive. Chen held them in her arms and cried. Around her, Marines secured the building and freed hundreds of other prisoners. Some were injured. Some were in shock. But they were free. You came, her mother whispered. We knew you would come. Of course we came, Chen replied. We're human. We don't leave anyone behind. The same scene played out across all 3 colonies. Prosperity was liberated in 18 hours. Dawn's Light took 36. By the time the Valkyrie High Command understood what was happening, it was too late. 40 million humans were free. Back on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The Archon of the Valkyrie demanded support. He demanded that the other species send their fleets to stop the human advance. But the other species looked at the reports from Karshak. They looked at the images of the human weapons. They looked at the speed and power of the human fleet. And one by one, they refused. You started this war, the Speaker of the Council said to the Archon. You took the human colonies without our approval. This is your problem, not ours. The Archon raged. He threatened. He reminded them of alliances and promises and ancient treaties. None of it mattered. The Valkyrie stood alone. Admiral Okonkwo received the news on the bridge of the Prometheus. The Council had abandoned the Valkyrie. There would be no unified galactic response. What are your orders, Admiral? Captain Chen asked. Okonkwo looked at the star map before him. The Velkari dominion stretched across hundreds of worlds. Billions of beings lived under their rule. He had the power to destroy it all, but that was not why humanity had come. "We continue our advance," he said. "We destroy their military capability. We break their ability to threaten anyone ever again." He paused. "But we do not massacre. We do not kill civilians. We do not become what they are." Chen nodded. "And if they surrender, then we accept." Okonkwo turned to face his crew. "We are not monsters. We are not conquerors. We are simply humanity, protecting our own. Let the galaxy see the difference between us and them." The fleet moved forward. The Tempest continued, and across the galaxy, species that had dismissed humanity for 300 years began to understand something very important. They had made a terrible mistake. The war lasted 3 months. When it ended, the galaxy was changed forever. The Velkari Dominion, which had been the most feared military power in the quadrant for 10,000 years, was broken. 60% of their fleet had been destroyed. A dozen of their core worlds had been occupied. Their economy was in ruins. Their people were in shock. The Archon himself had died in the final battle, when human ships surrounded his flagship and demanded surrender. He had refused. He had ordered his ship to attack even though he was outnumbered 100 to 1. He had been wrong about humans until the very end. Now, the new Velkari leadership sent a message to the human fleet. They were ready to discuss peace. Ambassador Elena Vesquez returned to Nexus Prime. But this time, everything was different. She did not come alone. Behind her shuttle flew a fleet of 500 human warships. They took positions around the station, their weapons ready but silent. The message was clear: humanity had come in peace, but they would not be threatened again. The council chamber looked the same as it had 3 months ago. The same crystal walls, the same 12 thrones arranged in a circle above the floor. But the faces in those thrones had changed. The Velkari seat was empty. Several other species had sent new representatives, leaders who were more willing to talk than fight. Elena stood in the center of the chamber. She remembered how small she had felt the last time she stood here. She did not feel small anymore. "Ambassador Vasquez," the speaker of the council said. The creature of living light sounded tired. "Afraid, perhaps. You have returned." "I have," Elena replied. "But not to negotiate. Humanity is done negotiating." Whispers spread through the chamber. Several council members shifted nervously in their seats. "Then why are you here?" the speaker asked. Elena looked up at the 12 thrones. 3 months ago, she had searched these faces for sympathy and found none. Today, she searched them for something else. Understanding. "I am here to explain," she said. "And then I am here to offer you a choice." She walked slowly around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each council member as she spoke. 300 years ago, humanity reached out to the galaxy. We wanted friends. We wanted partners. We wanted to learn from species older and wiser than ourselves. You rejected us. You called us dangerous. You locked us away at the edge of space and ignored us. She stopped and faced the speaker directly. We did not give up hope. We waited. We grew. We prepared. And when you finally summoned us, we came ready to prove ourselves worthy. We came ready to compromise. We came ready to find common ground. Her voice hardened. You offered us slavery. When we refused, you took our people hostage. You thought we would break. You thought wrong. The chamber was silent. No one dared to speak. Humanity did not seek this war. Elena continued. We wanted peace. We still want peace. But understand this, we will never again accept terms that treat us as less than equal. We will never again trust species that have shown they cannot be trusted. And we will never, ever forget what was done to our people. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data device. She placed it on the floor before her. This contains humanity's terms for peace. Not requests. Not suggestions. Terms. The device projected a holographic document for all to see. First, humanity will be granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Not limited membership. Not observer status. Full membership with all rights and responsibilities. Second, humanity will maintain complete control of our military. No disarmament. No limitations. No observers. Third, all human territory will be recognized as sovereign space. No species may enter without our permission. No species may threaten our colonies without facing the full force of our response. Fourth, The Velkari Dominion will pay reparations to every human who was imprisoned during the occupation. They will also release all political prisoners held in their territory, regardless of species. Fifth, humanity will be given a permanent seat on the High Council. Our voice will carry equal weight to any other species. Elena looked around the chamber one final time. These are not harsh terms. We are not asking for revenge. We are not demanding territory or tribute. We are simply asking to be treated as what we are, equals. She stepped back. You have 1 hour to decide. Accept these terms, and there will be peace. Refuse them, and the war continues. She turned and walked toward the exit. Ambassador, the speaker called out. These terms, they are acceptable. But why? You could demand so much more. You have the power to destroy us all. Elena stopped at the door. She was quiet for a long moment. Because that is not who we are, she said softly. We do not fight to conquer. We do not kill for glory. We do not seek to rule the galaxy. We simply want to live, to grow, to explore, to build a better future for our children. She turned and looked at the speaker. Humanity remembers what it feels like to be weak, to be ignored, to be treated as less than nothing. We will not do that to others. We will not become the thing we fought against. Then what do you want? The speaker asked. If not power, if not revenge. What? Elena smiled. It was a real smile this time. Warm, hopeful, partnership, she said. Real partnership. We have so much to offer each other. Human medicine could cure diseases that have killed your people for thousands of years. Human engineering could build wonders that unite distant worlds. Human art could create beauty that transcends language and species. She spread her arms wide. The galaxy does not have to fear humanity. We want to be your friends, your allies, your partners in building something greater than any of us could build alone. She lowered her arms. But friendship must be earned. Trust must be built. And respect must go both ways. That is what we ask. Nothing more, nothing less. The Council voted unanimously to accept humanity's terms. In the years that followed, the galaxy changed. Human doctors traveled to distant worlds and cured plagues that had killed billions. Human engineers built space stations that connected species who had never spoken before. Human teachers shared knowledge freely with any who wished to learn. And yes, human ships still patrolled the borders. Human weapons still stood ready to defend the innocent, but they were rarely needed. Because the galaxy had learned an important truth. Humanity preferred peace. They worked for peace. They built peace wherever they went, but those who forced them to war discovered something they would never forget. Admiral James Okonkwo retired 5 years after the war ended. He spent his final years on a quiet farm on Earth, watching his grandchildren play in fields of wheat. Ambassador Elena Vasquez served on the High Council for 30 years. She became known as the Mother of Peace, a title she always rejected. I did not bring peace, she would say. Humanity did. All of humanity. Together, Captain Sarah Chen rose to command her own fleet. Her parents recovered from their injuries and lived to see their great-grandchildren born. They never forgot the day the Marines came to rescue them. And across the galaxy, in corners both dark and bright, a quiet truth was whispered from generation to generation. The humans came in peace. They preferred peace. They built peace wherever they went. But when their patience ended, empires fell. And when the galaxy asked why they had won, the humans always gave the same answer. Because we fight for each other. Because we never give up. Because we are human. And that was enough. That would always be enough.